to the Drive at 5 on IntellectualRadio.com/iHeart radio station. I'm your host, Roman. We have a great show planned for you today. Please stay tuned to IntellectualRadio.com after the Drive at 5 for Warriors Talk with my girl, Rochelle, at 6 p.m. Tonight, my guest is the state representative of the 8th District. He's also a member of the Black Caucus and now a delegate for the upcoming Democratic Convention here in Chicago. Please give a warm welcome back to State Representative, the one and honorable Lashaun K. Ford. Welcome to the Drive, sir.
Thank you. It's good to be back in the house. I mean, it looks great in here. This is a full operation.
Oh, well, thanks to Earl Winfrey.
I need to buy some advertisement.
Oh, he will love. Now that's music to his ears right there. We will briefly discuss the upcoming DNC and Vice President presumptive nominee Kamala Harris. However, a lot has been happening in the news, and I would like to know your opinions about it. First is, as state representative and part of the Black Caucus, why a statement was not made by the Illinois Black Caucus regarding the police killing of Sonia Macy. We heard the governor, but not the speaker and the Black Caucus.
Yeah, the Black Caucus did make a statement. LG Sims Senator Sims is the person that leads police reform. And part of our pillars actually dealt with police reform, police accountability. So we not only made a statement as a caucus, but we've also made sure that people recognize that the pillars that we've implemented has to be implemented. The pillars that we pass has to be implemented.
What are those pillars?
Yeah, we had 4 pillars. One that dealt with criminal justice reform, police reform, economic justice, education, and also healthcare. Those were the 4 pillars that we did. But the Black Caucus did make a statement, and not only did we make a statement, we have legislation and laws that deal with the problems that we saw in Springfield. In fact, I even had public policy that I was trying to pass as it relates to critical race theory for police officers, so that they're able to be trained, to understand why people are different than them, and why, how to deal with different cultures.
There was a lot of pushback when you implemented that. Why the pushback? And years later, you were like ahead of your time. Years later, are you planning on reintroducing that?
I still believe that critical race theory for police officers and professional people is necessary. I think that there has to be an understanding of what critical race theory training is. I think it's a result of not having accurate history being taught and not being culturally aware growing up. So you have young people in elementary school, high school, and college. They're in diverse settings, and they're only learning what their institutions are teaching them. Roman, we talked about the fact of teaching accurate history. When you don't have accurate history being taught in our schools, then you have a system where one race feels more dominant and feel like they're better, and the other race feels inferior. And so that's the way our educational system actually is set up and designed to give white men somewhat of an advantage in society, not only financially, not only in our higher education, but all around. And just their white privilege actually spills over in every profession.
What are your thoughts? Have you seen the video footage of the cops? And some people call it an assassination. What are your thoughts on that police footage?
It could have been any black person. It wouldn't happen to a white person. It's and I don't want it to happen to anyone, but it's just the actual way they see black people and the respect that they have for black people. They don't see people like that murder. He didn't see her as a human being. He didn't respect her as a human, as his peer, as a human being. And until the police see you and me the way they see their white brother when they pull them over, we're all in trouble. They have to see you the way they see the white man. And until that happens, we are, I think, all our lives are at risk.
A lot of public officials, a lot of organizations have said, including police organizations, are saying they need more training, more training, more training. How much training does a police officer needs? And it's still happening.
Well, they do need training. There's no doubt. The critical race theory training is one that I believe helps, but the training starts at home. When you see a person, it's amazing because many times you hear people talking about our black boys in the street need their daddies at home. That's why they're out there in the streets. Well, what about the white cop that just shot that black woman? What kind of home training did he have? So I think that it all starts at the kitchen table. Those cops that will kill a black person because they're black, they learned it at home. That's where they learn to hate at. Now, that could be extreme, but that's where they learn to hate at. You can't imagine college graduates going to a university and still, and it's happening. But here you are, you're supposed to be going to a place of higher learning, and you come out worse than you went in. That's crazy. That's because professors also were taught the same curriculum that they're passing on to their students. So the curriculum, our history is just as poison to our system as lead in the pipes that our kids are drinking and in these communities.
Following the killing of George Floyd by police, President Biden signed a federal mandate through an executive order regarding a police misconduct database for all departments. Unfortunately, the mandate has not been enforced. I'm wondering if there will be an Illinois state law to support that federal mandate that require all Illinois law enforcement agencies to use the database when hiring officers. Will you ensure that?
Well, I won't ensure it. I'll support it. I mean, it makes sense when you look at that. Had their database been in effect, we would have known that that officer has been, I think, dismissed 6 times from different police stations across the, I don't know, across the state or in the country, but 6 times. Not only that, he was also, I think, discharged from
The Army
the
for
army.
drunken driving.
Yeah, so he's a troubled person, and that type of information should be made available. Now, some people will say, well, if we do that, then we're never going to find officers because it's so hard to find police officers today. So if we make it harder for people to get in on the into the profession, we'll be without cops. So, I mean, what's more important to have cops that we don't know their background or fewer cops? I mean, I think each city in the state should be pushing for this database. You know, they should be pushing Illinois to pass it because it's their cops that's going to cost their municipalities millions of dollars for wrongful death that their officers are inflicting on citizens. So Chicago should be pushing for it, and every other community that has a police force should be pushing for that. And this is a good um, um, bill or initiative that IRMA should be pushing, and that IRMA represents all of the cities and municipalities across the state.
Are you for or against another initiative that people were proposing at that time, that each police officer should have insurance? And once the insurance deny them access, they're they're gone.
I think that it makes sense for a police officer with a gun. I mean, doctors have to have insurance, lawyers have to have insurance, um, realtors, I'm a broker, have to have insurance, errors and omission. I mean, if I'm a police officer, I should, law enforcement agent, I should want to have insurance. But, this is why, we want to make sure that we have the very best um, Justice Department at the United States level, because there's this talk of having immunity for police officers, regardless to what they do. And that's unfortunate.
As a state legislator, what changes would you like to see in local and state law enforcement in Illinois?
I think it really would start with hiring qualified people and having um, the database. That would be really huge to know who you're hiring and have a serious understanding of who we're hiring and a serious background check. I don't know how the FBI do their background checks, but that's something that we should look at, how the FBI really go about doing their checks before they hire their law enforcement agents. But, I think that it's important that you look at the possibility of mental and behavioral health um, support and tests on an ongoing basis for law enforcement. They're under stress, they're under pressure, they're overworked, and I think that we can lay it all on the police, but I think it really the responsibility, I think, is with the municipalities that hire them.
We have the district council, which started last year, which some say is supposed to be a bridge between law enforcement and the community. Unfortunately, the pay is low and there is not enough time to make an impact as they would like within the community. Will there be more funding for district councils to do the work in the community?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm at the state level, and the city of Chicago has their own. This is a city initiative, so I don't know if the CPD or the Chicago's mayor is interested in funding it at a higher level, but that's pretty much a local um, job.
Starting this year, the Chicago police contract will not be extended to provide security for public school students. This decision has sparked mixed emotions. As a former educator yourself, what are your thoughts for public safety in public schools and the presence of police officers to protect and ensure safety in an educational environment?
Well, I mean, I am a former teacher, and I also was a LSC member. And I know as a state legislator, whenever I go into the state capitol, there are police there to protect us. Um, the mayor rides with the police, and there's always a mayor at his door before you could go into his office on the fifth floor. The governor has people guarding him, the president, of the United States, and everybody has protection. I mean, I think that if the criminals know that our schools are vulnerable without some type of protection, that that puts our kids at risk. So, with that said, I'm for special trained protection for our children. That means that we can't have a killer like the man that killed Sonia Massey in our schools. There has to be some type of training and credentials that qualify you to be around the children. I mean, we could breed our own um, protections. I mean, you get retired teachers and get some type of certificate program for them to be in to protect the students. But there is a need to have an awareness that our schools are safe. Um, as a teacher, it's very, very tough when you have young people in the classroom and the fight might break out. Teachers are, responsible and held liable for touching kids. It's not their job. I mean, there could be a fight and the actual teacher could be reprimanded and could lose their license for putting their hand on a child during an altercation. And so, what do we do? Somebody's got to be there. And now you have parents that actually are coming to the school making threats on the principal, coming to school making threats on teacher, threatening the other students. So somebody's got to be there to have some type of deterrent. And my thing is, I think we just have to have the properly trained protections.
Some essential resources will be reduced in public schools due to the upcoming school year. According to some teachers, cuts will have a serious impact on the classroom in the classroom, and class size will increase. What are your thoughts on the cuts?
Well, I don't expect the cuts to take place. I mean, you got Mayor Brandon Johnson. Um, I can't imagine cuts taking place under his administration.
Period.
Period. I mean, I'm sure he's going to work with CPS and figure out how to. I mean, you can't. I can't imagine that happening under a CTU strong with a mayor that is an educator, ran on education, and his first contract have cuts. I guess this is his first, yeah, with CTU.
You saw some of the cuts. What would you do differently?
Oh, that's a tough question. I mean, one, I wouldn't cut. You know, you look at you have to look at where the waste is. That's one. I don't know what their budget looks like and if there's waste, but you have to always go for the wasteful spending. So I don't know what the board how they did their budget, so I really can't say what I would cut. I don't like to cut. I like to make sure that we have um, resources and strengthen programs as much as possible. Why cut in the Chicago public schools? The young people need um, everything that they have and more. So cutting is not something that I'm in favor of in an area that's already underfunded.
Community leaders and some educators want the state to oversee Chicago public schools or have some type of control over it to provide a check and balance. That conversation has been going on for some years now. Will there ever be, like, instead of having City of Chicago having total control of education, the state has to have their say so.
Well, we have our say so. We send hundreds of millions of dollars to CPS annually. Um, I think that we have our say because we set the standards and they have to follow them. Let me make sure I correct that. We don't send hundreds of millions annually. We send hundreds of millions to the Chicago Public Schools, throughout the years. But yeah, we have a say, but we also know that CPS has a responsibility of their own budget, and the taxpayers in Chicago actually um, have a responsibility to hold CPS accountable. And so the biggest power comes from the people, and they have to make sure that they hold CPS accountable. Um, that's I think that's critical.
Some people don't know how to hold them accountable.
Yeah, I think that your taxpayer, your property taxes are going up. I think that's in the budget to take the property taxes up. Um, when you go to the store and make purchases, you expect to get what you pay for. If you're paying for a pound of bacon, you want a pound of bacon. You don't want to be cheated. You're paying for education for your children. Or if you don't have children, you're paying for education for the school district that's going to help your property values. I don't think property owners recognize that even if you don't have children in your home, you're still investing in your property values when you invest in a high quality school. The best communities are the communities that have high quality schools. You could take a community uh, in a neighborhood that's struggling from poverty and you improve the school system in that community, you will see property values go up, crime go down, and um, things change.
Let's look at Austin, for
Yeah,
example. You represent parts of Austin as well. You look at, you're a real estate agent
right.
as well. You look at how much the homes cost in the Austin community. $500,000 and no grocery store. $500,000. Shootings are up. Crime is up. Robberies, carjacking is up. Why is this allowed?
Hmm. Well, I would say that hopefully carjackings are down. And, I, you know, why is it allowed? It's because taxpayers have to come together to say no. I really believe in the power of government. I believe government work for those that make
But
it
they
work.
give us, and not to cut you
Yeah,
off, they give us a song and dance saying, okay, let's say Kate. Ever since he has been
who is that?
Kegi,
Oh,
property tax,
oh, him. Yeah,
he and I'm not trying to throw somebody over the
yeah.
bus, but I'm looking at facts.
Hmm.
Every single time property tax bills have come to the consumers, well, to property owners late. When they come late, that means it's an assessment. That means it goes up. Now they got to figure out a way to get some type of refund. How would that happen? And now schools are closed in some of these areas, and property taxes are still up. They're going up. Some of the homes, especially in the Austin area, $550,000
Hmm.
No grocery store, no resources. How?
Well, we have a grocery store coming, 40 acres. That's a good thing. We'll give them a big plug. They're coming. There is a grocery store on Madison,
You
Leamington Foods. They've been there a while. We have a
but
Safeway
not
on,
to cut you
yeah,
off. According to Illinois, a food desert is 1.8 miles.
right.
So that can factor in from parts of the South Austin,
Hmm.
but not the middle part
Well,
going north.
I agree that this has been a very, this conversation has been always something that I find interesting because we do need more grocery stores in the neighborhood, no doubt. But when we say we have none, that's not true because Roosevelt, we have Aldi's right there. That's Roosevelt and Central. Madison, we have Leamington Foods. Then on North Avenue, we have, what is it, Safeway or something? There's a
That's
grocery.
closed now.
No, it's a grocery store over there now
Where?
on North Avenue and North Avenue and Cicero Mandela. There's still a grocery store over there. So, and plus we have a great transportation system in on the west side. You get a bus, you could get that. And I'm just saying, one, we do have to fight for more, but we also have to work with what we have and continue to fight because we can't allow for ourselves to be weakened by the struggle. And that means we have to get to where we can get our fresh fruits and vegetables, eat better, get to Aldi's, get to these grocery stores that's around, and until we could do better. But we must keep pushing for better. I mean, it was funny. You're right. I'm not telling you you're wrong because I think that my daughter saw the mayor shopping at the old park store because
Yeah,
we
at
need a
Pete's.
store.
At
Right,
Pete's.
right. So I
But you know
agree.
how much money Pete's
Oh,
get from
Chicago
not only Chicago, from the Austin community
alone.
alone.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, that doggone store. Somebody should actually get something going with them so that they could have some type of relationship with the Austin community because we do spend a lot of money. I mean, I go there, you know, and so yeah,
But they're building one on Madison near you.
they're building another one on Madison, right?
Yeah,
Pizza.
Madison.
No, I stay near Roosevelt and Austin.
No, I get what you're saying. Madison, right there before you get to Oak Park Avenue.
Right, by the Walgreens.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're getting another Pete's. That's unbelievable.
But
Oh,
what
actually, Old Park's gonna have. Yeah, they
what
got jewels. How many jewels?
they got at least 3 jewels.
Yeah,
So what I'm saying is, you look at those dynamics and you see Chicagoans, you see all of these people. That includes myself. You mentioned 40 acres. How would they? It's a force of habit. How would they cut and say, "Come shop in your own community"? How would the prices look?
I think that they're gonna have. I think their prices are gonna be great. I think that it's gonna be affordable, and I think I can't wait to support it. I mean, we have also. We should give um, props to the Forest Park. I know it's outside, but it's another black grocery that we probably should support. Fresh Market in Forest Park. Um, Melody um, Winston, her father, Pastor Bill Winston, has that spot. I think people should go there and support it so that they can open up a fresh market on the west side in Austin too. Yeah, it's a tough one, but I think that we have to make sure that we um, be strong in our fight.
So with the housing
Hmm.
that costs million,
How could it be?
how could it
To
be?
go to your question, how could we have houses worth $500,000 and not have access to a traditional high school? And
Schools are closing.
schools are closing, and that's the number one concern that I have is that we don't have the traditional high school in the neighborhood. You have the high school in the neighborhood, then you're going to get the other needs for the community because you're going to have high quality high schools brings higher demand for resources. That I think it boils down to making sure that um, our educational system is strong, and it's going to do wonders for a community.
I know you've been doing the fight with the flooding and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Just a quick update for intellectual radio listeners. What's going on with the flooding and on the state side with funding and so forth?
Well, I think the state participated in relief through resources from SNAP benefits and um, yeah, I think that's the level of. What else did they? I think we worked with individuals to bring the state out to help clean out houses and things like that. But I did secure $1 million that's going through appropriation to help homeowners with the flood, and that should be coming out very soon. Of
But
course, the mayor of Chicago also got 5 million, and he's looking to do $25,000 per family that's approved.
in your delegate, the situation with migrants has become overwhelming, particularly in Chicago, your district. You also on that border between Cicero and Chicago. Migrants are receiving increased financial support, more resources, and preferential treatment, according to some, and job opportunities. There is an expected influx of more migrants to that are coming to Illinois, especially in Chicago, according to Gregory Abbott and um, I'm just going to say racist DeSantis. Why isn't Illinois challenging the governors of Texas and Florida who are sending them?
I can't answer that. I don't know why the governor is not challenging. I think that we are a welcoming state, and that's where we stand as a state. Um,
But I can welcome you into intellectualradio.com. Earl is very happy to have you, but he doesn't want you to take over.
yeah, I don't think they're taking over. I don't think they're taking over. Um, for me, I would tell you, I would say that it's ours before it's theirs. And if we want it, we should claim it. That's a fact. If there are jobs that we want, we could get it. We have the ability to get those jobs because we have IDs, we have birth certificates. If we don't, we have a birth certificate that we could get. Or it's a the problem that we have is that I see. I don't have a problem with anybody getting resources, no matter who they are. I believe everybody that's born should have access to dignity. The problem I have is the wraparound services to help that population move ahead is not equal. That's the problem I have. So a homeless person that's an American almost have to struggle to figure out how they could get housing alone on top of having the need for mental behavior health support, substance use disorder, um, no internet access, no funding for transportation to get to um, appointments. Whereas the migrants, there's a system in place and they have case managers. That's a problem. So what I say is, okay, it looks like the city and the state has figured out a way to do this for this population. Let's use the same model for our people in America.
Some people think it's systemic racism because 72% of homeless people are Black.
Man,
And the state is not doing anything about it. Look at what happened a couple of weeks ago. I'm just going to say it. Mayor Johnson removed hundreds of people along Roosevelt. Where are they going? They didn't say. Where their stuff and belongings are going to be, they didn't say. And you expect us to, be okay with it.
well, I think the state is doing something. I mean, I think that we all have to be in it together. There a lot of the nonprofits that's getting the money, we have to hold them accountable too.
But there's no legislation to hold them accountable.
There may not be legislation, but there are contracts that must be um, hold these nonprofits accountable.
Is there a law that you can review an organization, or let's say a watchdog group can say, let me see the contract?
Yeah, I mean everything is foilable, but the problem is what I've been working on is dealing with the NOFOs, notice of funding opportunities, and the contracts that these agencies are getting. That's where the agreement is made, and that's where we have to make sure that we do everything that we can to be specific about outcomes. And I don't think that we are writing good notice of funding opportunities and having demands of the people that's getting the organizations that's getting the money. I would tell you that today the governor signed the 1115 waiver, which is a big deal that's going to bring more money for housing, substance use disorder, and for people that's struggling with poverty. So hopefully that will really, really help us in the struggle of poverty. But I mean, to say that we're not doing anything, that's not true. Um, I think there's a lot of resources that have been provided for American citizens that actually could be homeless and on the street, but because they're receiving grants from this state, they're not. I work with some families, and their rent is being paid for the duration until they could find a job. I have a family that's been getting their rent paid for 2 years now. They pay nothing. Lights paid, gas paid. They were able to get a car. So, and they have lots of kids. So it's a fight. So there are programs that's helping people. It's just so many people that's in the struggle, and families are not helping families.
I'm going to get to the question of you helping that family in a second. By Texas and Florida transferring migrants to the city of Chicago, is this a new form of human trafficking?
I think so. There's no doubt that these that the federal government should be looking at holding these governors accountable. I mean, these people are getting on, being placed on the bus, taken to across state lines. I mean, that to me, that should be something that the federal government looks at to figure out some type of federal law that wouldn't allow it.
That brings me to my next question. Why Illinois or the Attorney General pursuing cases in the court, like allow the courts to decide on why and how and if somebody can do this, like transferring a person to another state willingly or unwillingly without their knowledge.
Yeah, that's totally federal. I mean, the U.S. Justice Department should be looking at that. There's no, our Attorney General doesn't deal with interstate interactions. He's the lawyer for the state of Illinois, and we have to make sure that we have this federal legislation or the federal government's, the Justice Department making that decision.
A lot of people would say, so why can't you just slap a lawsuit? Try to bring some of the money back and say, hey, we're sending them back. We cannot afford this. This is not our jurisdiction. Yes, we are a sanctuary city, but our laws and legislation does not actually say, hey, we welcome you, but at the same time, we're not New York.
Well, I mean, it's our choice here in the state and in the city. The leaders, the governor and the mayor, the city of Chicago, and other municipalities across the state have decided that they're going to be the protection of this population. They don't want to see them um, homeless or starving and dying on our streets and being mistreated in the way the other states might. So our leaders that we elect um, choose to support.
What's the temperature down there regarding in Springfield in regards to immigration in their district, in their hometown? People, I'm only going by in our area,
Mhm.
they're frustrated, they're mad, and they don't want a racial tension thing going on, but they are mad about this.
Yeah, I really, really don't feel that people are mad about families getting help as much as they are mad about not getting the help that they need. That's what people are mad about, not getting the support that they need for their needs. The fight is to um, spend money on the needs of American citizens, and that's what we did in our budget. We have a $60 billion budget almost, and that money is split to take care of our young people in K through 12 and higher education. I chair higher ed approach, and if you are a American citizen, you could go to our public universities almost free. If you're an American citizen, you could go to our community colleges almost free. That's what we do for American citizens with our budget. We fund public education, we fund law enforcement, we fund human services. Our people in poverty could actually get Medicaid. That's what we do for American citizens in this state. And so we are doing a lot to deal with poverty, but we can always do more. So people are seeing um, people come across the border getting help. And I think that overwhelming perspective is where's ours?
I have African friends from Cameroon, Kenya.
I'm Cameroon. I got it in me. Yep.
Always want to make me laugh when I say
It's true. I'll show you.
You're Cameroonian.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest argument they're saying is, especially Haitians, How come Venezuelans get top priority and our forefathers been here?
Mm.
We one that found the place and we don't get the same resources like they do. Like, what was that? $5 million the city allocated, even though it's not your jurisdiction. The African organizations were nowhere to be found on there. It was mainly Hispanic organizations.
Are they organized to receive money?
Yes, they're 501c3s and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think you could be a 501c3. I'm gonna tell you, they have to be able to fight. You know, being black of any from whatever region you're in, it's a struggle. And I really believe that if we don't organize all of those, I don't even think I've ever really had anyone from these different countries that's living here in the city, in the state, ever come together to lobby for funds for their organizations. I don't think I've ever had that.
And why is that?
But I've had a lot of the Hispanic organizations come in and fight. I think that the black diaspora, all of us have to come together and stand together, and it'll make all the difference in the world. Eh, Sometimes people don't want to be associated with one another, and that's weakening the black people in this country. Some black people don't want to be associated with black people. What's wrong with you? Not you.
When it The DNC will take place in Chicago in 3 weeks. As a delegate, what policies would you like to hear about regarding the Black community in your district?
Well, the Justice Department is major. We need to make sure that the Justice Department is reformed so that we, one, have a fair shot at as citizens in this country to not be um, hindered by the criminal justice system. That's huge for black men. So we have to have that type of reform. I know people will talk about the voting rights. That's important. I mean, you say, but I think that criminal justice and education is going to be important. I need to make sure that we do everything that we can in my area to have the highest and best um, healthcare facilities in the area. You know, we have Medicaid and Medicare for our people, but we need access. People are struggling with behavior and mental health challenges. If they don't have access to mental and behavioral health services, that's a problem. I would love to see the federal government fund programs to um, have trade schools in our communities. The federal government has so much money that they provide for infrastructure improvements, and we have a strong need for a workforce. I would love for the eighth district to be a hub um, for the trades. We can open a trade school right on the west side for those young people that don't want to attend a 4-year college or attend a 2-year college, but want to or go to the service, but they would love to get a trade. And it's not the same all the same trades, but now technology is a trade that we have to take into consideration. Our kids understand technology better than I think some adults. And so we have to look at what the trades are now and make sure that we have that going for our young people. That's what I would love to have. I mean, even in healthcare, that's a trade that should be offered. Um, when President Obama, when he passed the Affordable Care Act, that came with a lot of opportunities for careers, and so that's it's going to be
Do
big.
you think we took advantage of it?
Oh yeah, we've taken advantage of it. We just have to do more. The reason why I'm optimistic because I really, really believe in government that works if we make it work. I I know I've seen it happen.
They will say, come on, brother. It's not going to work for black folks.
Oh, it works. If we have to fight, it works. Government works for us if we're willing to fight together.
I give you a prime example,
Hmm.
George Floyd,
Hmm.
all that riff and rioting and stuff like that. We only got Juneteenth out of it.
No, we got a lot all across the country. Things
Some
have
people said we
changed.
got only Juneteenth out.
Yeah, we shouldn't. We definitely shouldn't diminish the work of all of the freedom fighters all across the um, country. And right here in Illinois, we changed laws because of George Floyd's death. The Black Caucus pillars. You think about it. Most municipalities. This is just a small example. Police have body cams now more than ever before. That came a lot because of the George Floyd's murder. That's just a simple one. But we have the pillars that actually have dealt with police accountability and police training and things like that from George Floyd's murder. This has happened across the country. There's been a lot of work done, and George Floyd's legacy is living on in states across the nation. And because of his death and the murder, we're still improving um, the justice system and police accountability. We actually had something to lean on as related to the murder of Sonia Massey. Guess what? Because of the death of George Floyd and the others, that man was fired immediately and charged with murder. Things are better than they were.
It's 99 days before the November election. The Illinois Black Caucus supports Vice President and presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris. Have you noticed an increase in enthusiasm in Illinois in your district?
I would like to say I have. Yeah, I would say I have. There has been an increase, not enough. And I don't think people really understand what's at stake with a Donald Trump's election.
Can you explain what at stake?
There's that Project 2025. That's some serious stuff there. The Project 2025 will take us back before our civil rights fight, the justice system. It would be, you don't want to live in a second term in America under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you what Donald Trump believes in: stop and frisk. We can't go back to stop and frisk. That's one example of he believes that we should eliminate Medicaid. That means that poor people can no longer have preventative health care and prevent a diagnosis of terminal cancer. I had prostate cancer. Thank goodness I had health insurance. I was able to have preventative care and I was able to be diagnosed early enough to not have terminal cancer. People have, with the Democrats, a chance. I'm going to tell you, the Democrats are far from perfect. I'm in a fight with my own Democrats. But I got a chance to bend the Democrats towards a more inclusive and towards justice. Then there's no chance of doing that with Republicans. They don't bend towards justice at all. You could tell that Democrats are for inclusive policies because we're showing how inclusive we are when it comes to the migrants, when it comes to gay, LGBTQ plus communities. All these are inclusive um, policies for the Democrats. So I tell you, I am a proud delegate of Vice President Kamala Harris. I was a proud delegate of President Joe Biden, and I know Black people feel that the Democrats have let us down as Black people. But I'm also a Sigma, and I subscribe to my brother A. Philip Randolph's um, fight, and that was his fight when he went to meet with the president. The president told him, "Make me do it." LBJ, what is it? Lyndon B. Johnson, make me do it. So that means Black people, I'm ready to go to fight and war for our good. Literally, Roman, let me tell you, I remember during the George Floyd's time, and we had a COVID. I had put together a group of people, and we had a press conference almost every week, calling for emergency funds for Black people only. Black people actually told me we don't need no emergency funds. We couldn't get people to see that this was necessary. And so my thing was I wanted the governor to do an executive order to help Black people because we were the hardest hit through COVID, and the criminal justice system has impacted our communities in such a way. It's tough, but
as an Illinois delegate, what is your counter argument? You mentioned some counter arguments to convince people in the Black community who are on the fence about painting Illinois red.
Illinois red. I think that there will be some people voting in Illinois that's Republican, but Illinois will remain a blue state.
Period. Governor Pritzker is under consideration as a finalist for vice president. What are your thoughts on Governor Pritzker being a VP pick and what that means for Illinois?
Well, it's all, I mean, I'm a state rep. I work with the governor, and once again, I wish he'll do more, but for the Black community. But I think that he's a partner with the Black community. He supported our 4 pillars in the heat because we actually had law enforcement. You remember we actually were under a lot of pressure for our pillars when it was the Safety Act. Remember that? That did a lot of, that's George Floyd. The George Floyd law helped us with the Safety Act, and the governor stuck with us, even under pressure when law enforcement, the unions, and every different communities were telling him to veto the Safety Act. He actually he didn't veto it. He stood with us and he signed it proudly. You know, we actually eliminated cash bail in Illinois. That's huge. Some people don't understand how huge it is and how big it is to have cash bail eliminated, but it's a big deal when you know that you have people being locked up for minor infractions, drug addictions, and taxpayers having to foot the bill for incarcerating people instead of using their health insurance to put them in a healthcare setting and not a criminal justice setting.
Governor Pritzker has not been lenient with pardons.
He needs to do better on that.
For social justice issues. what additional action would you like to see from the governor regarding social justice and giving people a second chance after serving their time? There are people out there that are in need of jobs. They serve time. I know you do deal with expungements, and people come in and they need a letter from the governor. They're not getting it. What would you do? He's not lenient on a pen.
You know, I think that when you look at the governor's role there, you have to look at what you call restorative justice models. There's a system in place right now that's in place to recommend um, to the governor what he should do as it relates to pardons and clemencies, and that's the board. What's the name of the board?
Parole board?
The prison review board. They make recommendations to the governor as to whether or not an individual should be granted clemency or pardons, and I think he follows that. I think that that's one system that he leans on. And recently, there was some people that were released early and given a pardon, clemency, and they committed a heinous crime. So he's in a tough situation as it relates to who he's going to give clemencies and pardons to. Um, and, it caused a big rift in the PRB um, because of some releases. But I do believe that we should really look at the length of a person's um, convictions and whether or not they're really reformed. And then you got to look at the families, the victims of the crimes, because it's almost a insult to them. So you got to look at the victims and you got to look at the person that was convicted of the crime and balance that out. It is unfortunate, though, in Illinois and in any other state that you are held um, incarcerated for life, even when you're out. If we take you in as a state, lock you up for 20 years, 10 years, because that's the time that we say is your punishment, I don't know why your punishment should continue after.
I'm going to squeeze this last question. We're running out of time. I'm going to get a hard wrap. Kamala Harris has been called racial names. One recently, Trump called her a bomb. Recently, the Republican Party called her a DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion hire. They also called the press secretary, who's also an African-American woman, a DEI hire. As a delegate, you have Republican friends. When is the systemic racism and talk about policies will start?
Democrats talk about it all the time. And I think that the good thing is about this election, Democrats and Republicans, people know where they stand. Like no other election. We know where the Republicans stand and we know where the Democrats stand. We know the policy of being inclusive in the Democrats, and we know that the Republicans don't want to be inclusive. They want to shut it out. I know the Democrats are about freedom, but we have to fight, as freedom ain't free, unfortunately. And as far as the name calling of the black women, I guarantee you, Vice President Kamala Harris is smarter than any of those men that's calling her whatever names they're calling her. It's a smart woman. And I would put my money on her. She'll take them down.
And you're looking forward to the debates.
I'm looking for, oh man, she know his type.
As usual, thanks for coming in,
Thank
and good luck on the convention that's coming up in 3 weeks. That's going to do it for us on this Monday. Thanks to Earl Winfrey, our executive producer. Wanda, who's behind the scenes. You guys have a wonderful week.